Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right, the podcast where we talk about our love for vinyl records and share it with you. Join us each week as we bring you the latest vinyl releases, what's in our vinyl collection, and wrap it up with epic vinyl. That's right here, each and every week, with your hosts, the Reverend Jeff Kelley and Kurt Harris. Once again, welcome to Vinyl Power. There was supposed to be some problem. There you go. See? Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are here live, Vinyl Power. It is Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock here in Pacific time in the Sacramento area. I am indeed the Reverend Jeff, and with me, as always, is Kurt, your friendly neighborhood music man, Harris from North Carolina. How you doing, sir?
Doing great this week, Rev. It's great to be here for another awesome Thursday, delivering our vinyl record passion to all across the universe.
That's right, out there to the Twitterverse, beyond into the interwebs. We go everywhere the internet goes. Hey, as usual, we talk about this time of the show, about what's going to be coming up and getting delivered into your pockets tomorrow, because I know most of you people have all of this stuff on order. But the releases, that's right, epic. The reissues are a bunch, so I'm just going to kind of blow through them here real quick. Blue October Home, Captain Jazz. We were talking about this pre-show. What a horrible album title. It says an alphabet apolothology. However, for a phonetic, dyslexic, stuttering reader like me, it reads anal phabet apolothology. Okay, so you should have thought about that when they're Captain Jazz. Anal phabet? Well, I'm not exactly sure what an anal phabet is, but
I must have.
Anal phob beta apolothology is coming out tomorrow as well. Now, David Bowie's re-releasing A New Career in a New Town, 1977 to 82's greatest hits. Dr. Shoji Yamashiro, the Akira original soundtrack, hits tomorrow. Dustin Kensrue, Please Come Home. The Flaming Lips, you don't say. That's right. Yoshimi battles the Pink Robots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, absolutely free. Gary Clark Jr., live in North America from 2016. The Gorillaz and Human. That's right. Humans. It's the picture disc. Green Day is dropping Dookie on picture disc. They're also dropping Revolution Radio on picture disc. Joan of Arc has a quadruple dropping. What? That's
quadruple.
Right. So, yeah, so much staying alive and loveliness. A portable model of How Many Memories Work, live in Chicago, 1999. So there you go. John Carpenter's original soundtrack to Christine.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Re-releasing. Linkin Park, 5 Minutes to Midnight, say what? And it's on picture disc. Lord Huron, Strange Trails. Mastodon, they're dropping Blood Moon. Crack the Sky on picture disc.
Woohoo.
Emperor of the Sand and Hunter on picture disc. So two are awesome. Picture discs and two are not. Chemical Romance is dropping I Brought You My Bullets. That's right. Don't you forget that. My Chemical Romance, they're also dropping 3 Cheers for the Sweet Revenge. And Portugal, the Portugal Man, the man Portugal. Yeah. Woodstock. Finally, wrapping it up this week, Solange, A Seat at the Table. That's what's dropping tomorrow. That's right, September 29th. Come back and join us. Find out what's dropping next week. We're here a day early just so you'll be reminded. Wow, that was a lot of stuff coming out. Hey, Kurt, I got a question to ask you, man. What you been spending this week?
Well. I'll tell you what. The week started off, and I had a theme this week. And my thought process was Holland, the beautiful windmills, the canals, the tulips in the spring. And I thought, you know, why not dig into my collection and find out what music I have to spin from Holland? Well, I only have a few. There's really not that many bands. So I had to kind of stretch out a little bit. And my first one actually is Sweden. I thought, close enough, right? So my first one is the 2003 Opeth record, Damnation.
Nice.
An interesting record in the fact that this is the first, for those that know Opeth, basically a black metal, death metal band from Sweden. Basically the process by Michael Ackerfeldt, who was known for his growling vocals, ability to go from growling to a normal singing. Well, this is the first one where the entire album, there's no growling. So this is the first album with just straight out singing. It's a beautiful record. Basically, it's dedicated to his grandmother that had passed away. And one other thing to know about this record is Steven Wilson, as you know. I'm a fan favorite. Steven Wilson produced it, mixed it, engineered it, and he also plays piano, mellotron, backup vocals. So quite a nice little record for anyone that's never heard of Opeth. Definitely give them a try. There's sort of the early Opeth, a lot of growling, later Opeth without. This is the one that separates the two. So finally, I can get to Holland itself. And, you know, when it came to talking about that particular area of the world, I wound up thinking, you know, the two rarest records that I have in my collection both come from Holland. Well, this is one, and this is one that you've never heard of. It's a band called The Machine. It's a three-piece from Holland, and this is their 2009 offering, Solar Corona. The only information I can really give you about this record and the band itself is they are sort of a stoner rock mix of psychedelic. The guitar player himself has about the best sounding Hendrix type of tone of almost any guitar player I've ever heard. It's a double record, extremely rare. I think there's only maybe 500 copies in existence, and I actually had to pry this one away from a collector in Holland who just happened to have two. You can't even find the CD for this, much less the vinyl. So it's a prized piece in my collection, but one that many people probably haven't heard of. So continuing on with my Holland theme, it's the other second most rare album in my collection. It's Cosmic Dealer with Crystallization. Wow. This is another one.
That looks way far out there, boy. Woo! I can imagine the artist making that one.
Yeah, this one is certainly out there, and it's 1972. It's extremely rare. I believe if you go on and read about this album, if you go to Discogs, it lists only 26 people owning this record. Now, of course, more do, but at least on Discogs, it's only owned by 26, and 196 want it. So that's another one that's an extremely hard record to get. And along with The Machine, the most rare record in my collection. It's psychedelic. It's actually much better than you would probably think it is, and it's the only record the band ever released. Cosmic Dealer, 1972, Crystallization. And believe me, when you get to the song Crystallization, it's kind of crazy. They say it like 20 times at the end of the song, and it almost seems to make no sense, but oh well, that's what it was about.
You know, they blew their wad all in the one album.
Yes, they certainly did. So from there, I decided, well, you know, at least keep around the same area of the world, and let's bring in the first ever Scorpions record.
Oh, yes.
So Lonesome Crow, again, 1972. And this is the only Scorpions record that features a 17-year-old Michael Schenker. And the guitar work on this album is absolutely stunning. You cannot believe you're listening to a 17-year-old. It's a much darker album. You kind of associate the Scorpions a bit with darkness, but this one in many ways is actually their darkest. It's certainly their most psychedelic, and it's much different than the later Scorpions, but then the songs are good, but the highlight is certainly just listening to a 17-year-old Michael Schenker. A great record. And those are the records that I've been spinning this week and greatly enjoying my little trip down Holland, Sweden, and Germany memory lane. And it made me think, as I was spinning those records, I have to ask you, Reverend Jeff, what vinyl records have you been spinning this week that you would like to display to our universe of fans?
I got to tell you, this last week, between the last show and this show, I've actually upgraded all of my record playing equipment, and it's been an adventure. We'll talk about that as we're going through this. Yeah, I finally got a balancing tone arm and a cartridge that's not made of ceramic, and a tuner that actually is warm and enjoyable to listen to, with a couple of vintage speakers. And I got to tell you, folks, check your local Craigslist, check your local offer ups and let goes. The stuff is out there cheap and it works. So
you have a legit vintage system. It's legit.
It really is. I need a little bit of a speaker upgrade, but I'm listening to records in 1975 in some man's studio. I mean, that's, I'm not listening to a great floor system that's, 100 watts. I got a little 10-watt system. It was made for the den. It was made for the studio, but it's a Sansui 221. And if any of you tuner heads out there know exactly what that is, you're probably jealous. So I got up the greatness again. Of course, I am a huge Guns N' Roses fan. My theme this week was the summer of 1987. That's right. The old Reverend was 14 years old and probably in his prime when it came to knowing what records made the girls just woozy in all the right ways. So with the new system broke out, I had to break out my Appetite for Destruction record. 1987. 1987 was such a great year. 86 was such a great year that Slippery When Wet was released in 86. This record and my next one coming up actually released directly between the concert. White Lions Pride was also released in August of 1987. When the Children Cry, I mean, everybody had to have this great epic ballad, and by 1987 they all existed. And White Lions, When the Children Cry, kind of rounded out that whole epic ballad stuff because they hadn't had theirs before this. And I mean, yeah, they had some slow songs, but that When the Children Cry was just epically in the middle of all of that. Let's make our fans suck and cry. Let's not make them rock. And back then, I always thought that sucked. Now, I'm pretty down with it. I mean, I appreciate what they were trying to do. I mean, Poison's big hit was a ripoff from the 50s. So let's just, let's really be fair there. They weren't exactly innovators of music. Anyhow, after I was kicking it with the White Pride, I was like, White Snake also came out in 1987. But this is not hair band. This is not glam metal. This is serious rock and roll. It really, really is.
Absolutely.
If you look up about this record, it's like, yeah, White Snake had been around for a little while, but they really didn't hit their stride again until this record. Coming out of Deep Purple, it was difficult to try and put that epic of a band back together again. But after they had changed out the drummer and changed out another guitarist, wham! White Snake hit in 1987, and it really just it climbed the charts, and it should have. I loved this record. But that summer of 89 or 88 was fantastic because after this record dropped, that's right, Wasp, Live in the Raw. Oh, my mother hated this record. Oh, she didn't know what to do with herself. I mean, look at that. It's just pure evil on the cover. They're Satan on the back of it. Jeffrey, what are you listening to? The devil's going to come in your room at night when you sleep, and he's going to take you. No, Mom, really not. This has everything you want to hear from Wasp. If you're not familiar with Wasp, they are just a bit edgier than some of the harder rock stuff before that dark metal. They're not quite there. They're right on the edge of we don't give an F. I mean, and but not quite F you. That's where they survived most of their lives. They were very Iron Maiden sounding, and they're just one of my. It was probably more to Gord Mom than anything else, but I think Wasp Live was one of my favorite albums that dropped ever. To be honest with you, that's one of my favorites to own. So that's what I was spinning on my new record player this week. Let's see who's out here in the internet lands that dropped in live to say hi with us this week. How's about that? We go through that and say hi to these people out there.
Well, hello, internet land. Who's hanging and
Hello,
listening to Vinyl Power?
It looks like Rodney Dupree is always in the place to be. And Mr. Lance Windsor, he's checking in from Blaine, Canada. And look, it's Ken. He thirded it tonight. We're glad to have him aboard as well. And I think I did indeed see the Life and Times of JCM check in. He's out there as well. I'm sure Squatch Box and Oreo Cream Rocks and Gary and Whitney White will be checking in here soon enough. It's middle of the day for most of those people, so it's tough for them to watch us live. But we wanted to make sure that you East Coast people really get the chance to, 8 p.m. is a great time for you guys, and that's exactly where Kurt is. So we figured, why not make it easier for you guys to watch? Anyhow, if you want to come and watch us live, be here 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursdays, afternoon, evenings, whatever you want to call them, and you can watch us live as well. If you want to be part of the show, contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Vinyl Power Podcast. Or at Vinyl Power Podcast will tag us in any comment. Haha, bet you didn't know that. Well, you do.
Well, we do now.
No. Exactly. All right, Kurt, I got a question to ask you, buddy. What did you bring along for your epic record this week?
Oh, epic record. Well, this has been a lot of fun bringing these epic records to the table, showing what vinyl records we're playing during the week and interacting back and forth and bringing the fans into our world of vinyl passion. And this is one that I have a lot of passion for. 1973 Golden Earring Moontan. Most people would know this record by one song and one song only, and that's Radar Love, right? We got a thing that's called Radar Love. Everybody loves that song, right? It came on the radio. You couldn't help but reach over and crank that up. But you know what? I used to think, yeah, one-hit wonder, right? I mean, what else have they ever done? This is their 9th studio album. 9th. Little band from Holland. I'll tell you what, this is in my top 10 records of all time. This record is absolutely incredible from beginning to end. I was so wrong thinking this was a one-hit wonder. They have other records that are good, but this is certainly their masterpiece, and it's their only record that was actually certified gold in the United States. Well, a little something else to find out about this record is this. This cover was actually banned in the United States, and only the very few of the first pressings were sold with this cover. It was pulled and replaced with a cover that just has an ear with a golden earring. Well, the only way to get, there's 2 track listings. There's a UK track listing and there's a US track listing. I personally feel the US track listing is much better than the UK track listing. And the only way to get this cover and the US track listing is to get one of those first records that were sold before it was banned. And I have to say that I searched far and wide to get an excellent copy because I had to buy it used off of eBay and found one of those first US Canadian pressings. And for those that really know records, they know that for the most part, the US Canadian pressings sound-wise are not as good as the pressings from Japan, probably being the best, Germany maybe being the second best, then the UK. I don't know if it's just because they had to press so many more for US and Canada. I'm not sure exactly what the reason for that is, but It still sounds very good.
Bottom line, it was the bottom line. It was cheap vinyl. Don't use 1 gram less. It's going to be a 179 album coming out of this house from now on.
Well, you know what? It is a little flimsy, and maybe it's 110 or 120 grams. It's certainly not 180, and it's one that unfortunately has never been reissued and repressed. I wish it would be, but I've got an excellent copy. It's a great record, and maybe it's a bit snobbish, but I wanted the beautiful Vanilla Queen cover because as every song on this album is incredible, but my favorite probably is Vanilla Queen. And as far as I'm concerned, they call this the exotic dancer or Candy because there's a song on here called Candy's Gone Bad. But I prefer the Vanilla Queen. And a record that
if you made that girl on the cover about 40 years older and put her on the strip at Las Vegas, she'd work at Mermaids.
Oh, Mermaids. Yeah, you know what? I agree with that. She certainly
I don't think there's a dancer at Mermaids that's under 70.
I'll be sure to go there for that.
I'm not kidding. If you've been on the old strip in Vegas recently, check out Mermaids. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. 70-year-old dancers. It's crazy.
I think I'll make a special trip just for that one, especially if they can bring out one of these Vanilla Queens. Even if she is 70, I'll show up for that one. But like I said,
saw that show in Vegas.
I haven't seen that yet, but now that you've got me interested, well, who knows? Like I say, just a fantastic record. Don't be scared of this one. Don't think that it's radar love and nothing. Listen to it on YouTube, whatever, get a feel for it. And if you ever see it in a store, even if you can't find this particular cover because it's more expensive or whatever, get the original one, just get the music, enjoy it. It's a fantastic album. It's placed right in my top 10 all-time records. And I spun it last night, and it once was not enough. I actually put it right back on and spun it again. So having said that, I have to ask you, Rev.
Absolutely.
What epic record are you bringing to the table this week in Vinyl Power?
Right. Well, as you can see, what's been lurking on my wall back here all episode.
Oh yeah, it's bad, right, baby.
I'm bringing out the king of pop. That's right, Michael Jackson's Bad. Now, say what you want about the man, the artist of Michael Jackson is incredible, despite all the horror that happened in this man's life. August 31st, 1987. It was recorded over a 6-month period because Michael Jackson was known to be a perfectionist. Absolutely. This is his 7th studio album outside of the Jackson 5. Mind you, he had like 15 albums with the Jackson 5. So this is his 7th studio album solo as the American singer and songwriter Michael Jackson. Recorded on Epic Records and then released by CBS nearly 5 years after Jackson's previous solo album, Thriller. Thriller was such a big hit, but if you remember, after that, Pepsi Cola burned him up.
Right.
So he had that long period of recuperating and healing and everything else, and it wasn't until 1987 that we learned that we went from the black Michael Jackson to the white Michael Jackson.
Hee.
I mean, it really is that much of a disturbing change because in Thriller, we were dealing with an African-American Michael Jackson with a big nose and dark curly Jerry Cool hair. And now all of a sudden we got bad Michael Jackson. So,
you mean the almost Diana Ross Michael Jackson?
Well, I mean, it really got to be so bad the man played with his looks. Anyhow, Bad saw Jackson exercise even more artistic freedom than he did in his previous 2 epic releases of Off the Wall, which is another great album, and Thriller. Composed 9 of the album's 11 tracks all by himself and received co-producer credit for the entire album. I mean, the dude was a workaholic. But with tracks like Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Speed Demon, Another Part of Me, Man in the Mirror, Dirty Diana, and Smooth Criminal, all on this release. If they didn't rock, they popped, and those were the kind of chicks for me. So that's what I'm bringing to the table this week. I mean, this was just such a great That's a great album that it deserves an epic position. I'd say it's top 15 in what I have. It really is. This is an excellent copy. I picked it up in my local record store. You hear me talking about those guys all the time. Speaking of epic things, my epic guys picked up for me. Where is it? No. Come on, it's here. Nice. Oh, no, I can't find it. There it is. The Disco Duck.
Disco Duck.
Dun, 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 dun. The original Disco Duck, Rick D's full album. Yeah, it's not my epic bring for the day, but it is definitely an epic album to bring to the table. We put it on. I mean, we literally sat and listened to the whole thing today, and it's really epic.
A holy grail of the disco era.
When you get to know your local record guy, he'll put things aside for you in just the right way. Kurt, I want to thank you for being here today, man. This has been fun.
It's always
fun.
You
guys want to come and join us at the beginning of the show and tell us what your epic record is and introduce the show, you can contact us on Facebook. Be part of it yourself. Thanks for joining us here on Vinyl Power. We'll see you next week. Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Vinyl Power. Until then, keep your vinyl off the floor. Your style is clean.